This is a story of how I achieved A+ in university maths by slaying the evil monster / overlord Morgarath. During the exam season, I had faced a horrendous monster called Morgarath. He was so, and I mean so, ugly. He was an evil monster who had implanted fear into every student's mind. He was commonly known as the Terror of the Night. He was always sending illusions, copies of himself, at me, which was kind of terrifying. And each time I faced an illusion, a copy of him, he had used abilities and skills that I hadn't seen before. But I knew I had to clash swords with him. And I know that one day you will have to clash swords with this evil monster and villain called Morgarath as well. But slowly, and I mean slowly, over time, the evil monster, the evil overlord would deteriorate. If you have enough willpower and self-discipline, you will be able to slay the evil monster Morgarath. I was lucky, and I was so lucky that I came out unscathed and I received something, a piece of paper which said A+ after slaying the evil monster Morgarath. It was a really tough battle, but in the end, I came out victorious. At the start, when I first slayed Morgarath, I thought I came out victorious. I thought that I only needed to slay him once, but I realized the fatal error. The Morgarath that I slayed was only an illusion. The real Morgarath was still waiting out there somewhere. He was still waiting out there somewhere, and I knew I had to encounter him eventually. And I knew that it was my destiny to go and slay him. Every single time that I had faced Morgarath's illusions, I had forced him to use a skill, a special skill, / an ability that he hadn't used before. Just like how every single time you practice a past paper, you get to reveal the evil boss's questions, and you'll get to flesh out what the final questions on the examination paper, on the real examination paper, will be. I know, you may be wondering, not all the questions on the past exam papers will be on the actual exam, but I knew that if there was a chance, even a slight chance, for a question that was on the past paper to be on the exam, I had to practice for it. It's just like how Morgarath has many skills and many abilities up his arsenal. And every single time I have to face an illusion that he sends out at me, I have to force him to use a new skill, a new ability. So that way, when I face the real Morgarath, I know how to counter her. When I face the real monster, the evil overlord, Morgarath, I know exactly how I would be able to dodge the skill, how I will be able to avoid the abilities that he dashes out. I had to remember the sequence he uses the skills, or else I was gonna get heavily injured by him, and I would have just gotten injured over and over and over and over again. I couldn't allow that to happen. Because just like the real exam paper, if there was a question that I'd solved beforehand, and it appeared on the examination paper, and I didn't know how to solve it, or I forgot how to solve it, that would have costed me. Just like how if I forgot how to deal with Morgarath's special skills, with his special abilities, then I would have came out heavily injured. I could have lost an arm, I could have lost a leg, or I could have lost my head. I had reviewed the past papers countless times, thousands of times, practiced thousands of questions. Just like how I had faced Morgarath's illusions countless of times, thousands of times, until it was time to battle the final foe, Morgarath himself. By doing this meant that I knew what questions, the exact questions that are going to be appearing on the exam. It also means that Morgarath wouldn't stand a chance against me because I had all his skills, all his abilities, all his special traits, special moves figured out already because of his illusions that he sent at me that I've faced 1,000 times before. And since I had faced Morgarath's illusions countless thousands of times before, this made slaying the real foe, the real Morgarath, a little bit easier, relatively easier. Just like how when I practiced for my maths exam lots of times over and over and over and over and over again, the real exam didn't seem that daunting. It just seemed quite easy. It seemed quite simple. This is because the real exam had questions the past exam papers had on them. They weren't exactly the same. The numbers were changed around, but the concept was the same. Just like how when Morgarath sent his illusions against me, I had to remember the skills that they use. The real Morgarath isn't going to be using the skills in this exact same method. But if I just know what skills that he has up his arsenal, I'll be able to counter it. I'll be able to remember the sequence, the theory behind how Morgarath cast his skills. Maybe he does a special pose before he summons a lightning strike at me. I would know that when the real Morgarath strikes up his hand, I know that's when he's gonna form and strike me with lightning. Of course, executing Morgarath wasn't as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. But the thing is, even though he had some special skills, some special abilities up his arsenal still, just like how in the real maths exam, there were some odd questions there and then that I hadn't encountered before. But since I had faced Morgarath, and since I had practiced the past papers thousands of times before, I was able to correctly predict the skills that Morgarath used, predict how I was gonna dodge it. Just like how in the real exam, I was going to be able to solve the problems relatively easily, even though I haven't encountered them before, because I practiced the past papers before. This was because I knew that my lecturers, my teachers, weren't going to be putting questions on the real examination that I haven't answered before, or questions that I didn't know how to solve. When I faced the real Morgarath once and for all, I was able to slay him. I was able to execute him with ease. And in the end, I got a paper saying A+ for university maths / it said my maths course on it, but yeah. You may think that you've heard this advice everywhere on the internet, but the thing is, when it actually comes to exam season, you won't be practicing the past paper. I bet that you won't be practicing the past papers, and you will be practicing something else other than the past papers. It's like how if I didn't face Morgarath's illusions thousands of times, countless of times, then I wouldn't be able to predict the moves, the abilities, the skills that the real Morgarath dishes out. And that would have costed me the battle. And that would have meant that I wouldn't be able to slay him that easily. The past papers on exams are really helpful because the questions on the past papers are essentially almost identical to the real examination paper. You may not want to practice the past papers because they seem overwhelming at first. But just like how when Morgarath will send his first illusion at me, I won't know any skills, any abilities that he has up his arsenal. Any skills, any abilities from that illusion, I wouldn't have known. And at first, I had to drink a lot of health potions because I was almost gonna get killed by him if I didn't do that. But I knew that every single time I had faced and will face Morgarath's illusions, he will be revealing more and more skills that the real Morgarath will use. Just like how I had practiced the past exams countless of times. This meant that I was able to reveal, to peel off more layers and allow me to see what would actually be on the real examination paper. Hopefully you like this video, and if you like this video, youtube.com/story I made. I bet that you will like how I study effectively. That video right there.